What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review for you guys. And this time, I am talking about the latest offering from blackened death metal supergroup Vltimas with Epic. This is their second album, also came out on March 15th, this time on Season of Mist Records. And like I said, this is the second album from this international blackened death metal supergroup. This, for those who don't know, this features one Flo Meunier on drums from Cryptopsy, Rune Eriksson, otherwise known as Blasphemer, formerly of Mayhem, but also in R Noir on guitars, and the one and only David Vincent, formerly of Morbid Angel and also in Terrorizer, on vocals, but a couple other members are on here on second guitar and bass, but this is primarily known as the supergroup with David, Flo, and Rune. So, I actually, if I recall, I believe I reviewed their debut album, Something Wicked Marches In, and I thought that was a really damn good album, great album for a debut for these extreme metal legends. I thought it was a killer debut, and I have it in the collection. So I was eager to check out this new one, this sophomore effort, first one in 5 years. But then again, with everybody in the band, they're busy. You know, David doing not only Terrorizer, but the I Am Morbid thing, his own country gig, and then you got Flo doing Cryptopsy, and Blasphemer doing R Noir, and other guest spots for like Nader, Sadek, and other artists and bands like that. But here we are with their second album, Epic. So we kick things off with this odd intro, Volan's Discordant. It's just this odd, clean guitar, ambient intro. I thought, maybe could have lived without. But we get into the true opening track, the title track, Epic. And right off the bat, you get two things you're going to become accustomed to on this album. And those are grooves and dissonance. Like, there is so much in the way of dissonance going on here. Not like all the time, but like little dissonant melodies kind of get peppered in on pretty much almost every track. And here, the grooves that started off a little bit on the doomier side, but it's off time. And then it gets into chugging riffs, and then David's vocals just come right in and just tell you he's here. And then it even double times some of that doomy groove a little bit as well. And the lead work on this album, I gotta say, Blasphemer does a hell of a job when it comes to the lead work. Like, yes, some leads can be a bit repetitive, but for the most part, they're really damn good leads. Like, he's able to showcase technique as well as melody, and occasionally will shred your face off whenever he feels like throwing down the gauntlet to kick your ass. But then we get into, oh god, I'm gonna have a tough time pronouncing this one, Misery. I think I got that right. It's get more dissonant riffs to start off, but it feels a lot closer to like Mayhem during the Grand Declaration of War period, where they got really experimental and a little more on the dissonant side of their sound. So some of these riffs that come up on this track kind of made me think of that era of Mayhem a little bit. But then it does turn more thrashy, like you do get some more thrashy riffs and thrashy drums. And there's even some like really cool, tasty, melodic lead lines that pop up in here. And even a quick little guitar harmony shows up before you get into like a quick fire, tremolo, and blast. And then one of only two songs where you get a breakdown. It was like this track, and, well, I'll get to it when I get to it. And then we get into Exercitus Irae. Right away, tremolo riffs that feel like black metal for the most part, but thrashy speed and quick little blast beats in between to be like transitions, as opposed to like doing drum fills. Flo was doing more blast beats to break up the thrashy rhythms and just which I like hearing that, especially at the beginning of a song. It's pretty cool. But then some of the riffs change and they become more familiar, like more Morbid Angel riffing, which, of course, when you have David Vincent, you're bound to get some Morbid Angel out of this, and you did get a little bit of it on this track before it goes back to being groovy. But one thing I gotta mention, the mix and the production of this album was pretty damn good. Like, the mix itself, well balanced. Like, the bass is pretty much audible, and then there are some times where you get like isolated bass moments, which I thought was really cool. And I forget the name of who they got playing bass now, since David's pretty much just doing vocals. But whoever this new bass player they got is, he did a killer job, especially with how the mix highlights some moments where it's like, you know what, that's a tasty bass line. Why don't we have that shine through a little bit more in the mix? Then we get to one of my favorites on the album, Mephisto Manifesto, which, that's a hell of a title. And this song, probably the most groove-oriented track of them all. It's like doomy grooves, but some good mid-tempo grooves, great bass lines, little tremolo riffs come in here and there, but then there's some downright catchy riffs on here, and even catchy hooks, with a ripping solo by Blasphemer. Scorcher, this is where you get some more dissonant melodies popping back up, as well as some more of those more black metal tremolos, but like really fast blast beats, almost like Dark Funeral a little bit, but then it turns more thrashy, and then a groovy chorus. So it's like they're able to balance speed and groove a little bit on this track while throwing in little pepperings of dissonant melody. Invictus, which may have been my favorite track of the album, 5.5 minutes, mostly Morbid Angel all over the place with these triplet chugs. It's just Morbid Angel all over the place again, more dissonant melodies, even a dark bridge where you get like comminglings of bass lines, tremolos, and blast beats. And then it gets thrashy again before you get into this big, no pun intended, epic triplet chug that leads into the solo with sinister clean guitars kind of bringing the song to a close. Nature's Fangs kind of repeats more of the same tropes, you know, dissonance, tremolo riffs, double time rhythms, doomy grooves, but more bass isolation. And then the closing track, the longest track of the album at nearly 6 minutes, Spoils of War. While it was a damn good closer, I honestly feel like Invictus should have closed the book, because this one, again, kind of pretty much carries on the same tropes that this album has. It's built up with dissonance, slow, doomy rhythms. It turns double time, and then you get another breakdown. So there was only a couple of, like, true blue breakdowns on here. So that pretty much does it with the album as a whole musically. Now, as far as, like, anything to complain about, I will say David's vocals were a bit odd at times. Like, during the title track, it sounded like he was trying to sound like he was singing clean, but still with, like, a gruff tone. And I just wasn't sure if that was going to work out the whole time. Thankfully, he does change up his vocals on pretty much almost every track, and his low growls, or like the bellows that he does, are still there. Like the bellows you got used to hearing on like albums like Covenant and Domination, they're still there, but not all the time. And like here on the title track, he just sounded like he was trying to sound more on the clean vocal side, but still retaining gruffness to it. And then the vocals on Miserere, the chorus vocals were just odd, and it just kind of took me out of the song a little bit. But then you get those, like, low chants from David, which I always love to hear, you know, like in Fall from Grace off of Blessed Are the Sick. I'm always going to love the low chants from Vincent, because he has a very evil-sounding chanting voice whenever you get him to go that low on songs. But it's just, yeah, the vocals, I felt like they couldn't... It's like... What am I trying to say? Like, the vocals kind of feel inconsistent along the line of, or along the ride with this album. Like, sometimes they sound really good, other times it's just really strange. And then, of course, probably the other complaints, some of these songs I feel kind of run together, especially in the back half, whenever you start getting familiar with all the tropes that you're getting on here, like the dissonant melodies, double time rhythms, and groove. It can kind of feel a bit static towards the end of the album. But again, there are still some standout tracks on here, like Mephisto Manifesto and Invictus in particular. Like, those two really stood out for different reasons. Like Mephisto Manifesto, because it was all groove, but it was catchy. And then Invictus was all about like death metal triplet chugs, but through a black metal filter. And then while the rest of the album has some good moments here and there, I just feel like a lot of it kind of ran together and they just kind of felt similar. So overall, I am going to give this one 3 out of 5. It's a solid follow up. Granted, I feel like following something Wicked Marches In was kind of a tough act to follow, and this might have been a bit of a sophomore slump. But hopefully, we can get another album from these guys, and maybe they'll learn some of the mistakes on this one. Maybe take more time developing more distinct moments, and perhaps their next album could be the best thing that David, Flo, and Blasphemer have come up together. But I don't know, something Wicked Marches In is still tough to try and beat. But yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at. But of course, this is all just my opinion. What did you guys think of Epic by Vltimas? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until next time, keep your horns high and your dreams wet.